Bone loss is a serious problem for people over the age of 50, and osteoporosis affects 2 out of 5 women worldwide. But losing bone density is not inevitable. And in today's video, I'm going to reveal 5 exercises to help you strengthen your bones and prevent osteoporosis. My name is Harlow, and I'm a specialist in helping people over the age of 50 to improve their health. And I've helped thousands of people improve their bone density too, with these 5 exercises. With the exercises I'm just about to show you, one of my lifelong mobility subscribers shared with me she'd improved her bone density by 20%. So it certainly is possible. Now, the places in the skeleton that are most susceptible to bone loss are your lumbar spine and your hip. So that is where most of these exercises are going to focus. But before I show you them, they're not suitable for everyone. Make sure you get checked out before you try them, especially if you've got osteoporosis, and avoid any of the ones that cause you pain. The first exercise we're going to do to help you improve your bone density is the heel drop. And the reason this exercise works so well is because it leverages ground reaction force, which is basically impact between your body and the ground. Now, if that sounds scary to you, don't worry, because we're going to be doing it in a really safe and controlled way. Here's how the exercise looks. So you just need something to hold on to. I'm going to use the wall here, so a wall is fine, or a kitchen worktop works really well. Put 2 hands on like this, and you want your feet about shoulder width apart. And then you're just going to go up onto your tiptoes, and then very briskly drop down onto your heels, just like that. Now, you don't have to do this like I am barefoot. You can do it in shoes, but you do want a little bit of impact when you go down to the floor. So very flat shoes would work well. I would probably not do this in trainers with a big fat heel, because it's just going to cushion most of the impact. And you might be thinking, well, Will, is this safe? You know, we're trying to build up bone density. Maybe my bones aren't as strong as they used to be. Am I safe to do this? And for most people, the answer is yes, because what we're doing here is we're taking that impact down onto the heels, and the impact is basically being distributed up the leg right into the hip. So it's not enough impact to cause an injury, but it is enough impact to trigger the osteoblasts, which are the cells in your bone, to lay down new bony tissue. Now, if you keep stimulating them, they will oblige. They will lay down that new bony tissue, and you have to do this regularly. Little and often works super well. So it looks like this. You go up onto tiptoes and drop. Now, we're not dropping hard enough to bruise your heels. We're just dropping hard enough so that we feel a bit of a shock wave going up the legs. It shouldn't be painful. Definitely avoid it if it is. But if you feel you can do it comfortably, I recommend to most people that they do somewhere between 10 and 20 of those in a row. Just do 1 set, but try and come back to it 3 or 4 times per day if you're really serious about bone density. Now, the reason we want to do it that way is because every time we do the exercise, we trigger those osteoblasts to start working again, but they will settle down after you stop. So it's actually better to do them spread throughout the day rather than all in one go and then nothing for the rest of that 24 hours. So that's the first exercise. And by the way, if you're enjoying this routine, I've got a routine in Lifelong Mobility, my online program, that shows you how to build bone density, but it's done at a pace that you can just follow along with me at home. You literally just set your TV up, you watch it go, and you follow along in real time with me. And if you're interested in that, there's a link to the program in the description box below. The second exercise you're going to do to help you build your bone density is the side stomp. And this works off a very similar principle to the heel drop, but I love the side stomp because it actually strengthens your muscles as well as your bones. And having strong muscles is vital to ward off osteoporosis and to protect yourself from falling. So here is how the exercise looks. You're going to stand like this with your feet about shoulder width apart, and we're going to work in one direction at a time. So I'm going to go right. All you're going to do is take your leg like this and stomp out to the side. It's as if you're doing a lunge, but you're going to do it quite aggressively. So you're going to stomp your foot down and sink into the lunge. Let me show you again. So leg out to the side, stomp and go down. Let me show you again. Out to the side, stomp and go down. And again, what we're doing here is we're sending that shockwave up the leg and we're getting that hip into a flexed position. So we're really focusing the force from the ground up into the neck of your femur, which is exactly the spot of the body that tends to get the worst osteoporosis. It seems to be because the way the bone grows, it doesn't naturally have as much density in that area to begin with. So when you lose bone density all over the body, it is the neck of the femur right up in the hip that suffers worse. And the reason this is so bad is because if you fall on your hip and it breaks, a hip fracture has been associated with a really high rate of mortality in the following year or two. Literally 30% of people who fall and break their hip will die within the next 1 to 2 years. So I don't want that to be you. That's why this exercise is so important. Now, if you're struggling to do that and you think that's too aggressive for me, I can't do that kind of movement, maybe you've got an arthritic hip, just do a small stomp. This on its own will help. It's enough to trigger those osteoblasts to get to work. And I can still feel it in my glute and in my thigh, which is a good thing. So it means it's still building muscle too. Now what I would do, again, 10 to 20 repetitions in one direction, and then you go the other side. So out and stomp like this, going down into that little lunge each time you do it. You don't need to do 4 or 5 of these per day in terms of sets. I would work maybe twice, 3 times per day would be great. And again, you've just ticked off another brilliant box for boosting your bone density. Let's have a look at exercise number 3. The third exercise I've got for you today to boost your bone density is the goblet squat. Now, any variation of a squat, whether you're doing just a sit to stand or a mini squat, or even a back squat with a barbell on your back like this, all of these work really, really well to build both muscle and bone tissue. So any of them is going to be good. But I particularly like the goblet squat because I can feel the force in my spine as well when I have to hold the weight slightly in front. It's not a bad kind of sensation, but it's just that weight traveling through your spine, your skeleton, is the thing that triggers bone density growth. So here is how the exercise looks if you're not sure. You need a small weight, so a dumbbell works best, but if you don't have one of these, you can just get a bag, fill it up with something heavy like books, and hold it into your chest. You're going to hold the dumbbell like this with your hands up, hold it into your chest like this, have your feet again about shoulder width apart, stick your bottom out and bend your knees, keep your back nice and straight, only go as far as you feel you can, and then come back up and squeeze your bottom at the top. And again, down we go to the bottom, come up and squeeze. Now, the other reason I like the goblet squat is it's actually safer than the back squat if you're just getting started, because if you get into trouble and you get down here and you think, gosh, I can't get back up, just put the weight down or drop it on the floor. If you're on the back squat, you've got much more trouble because the bar is on your back. You can't just drop it behind you because that's risky. You have to rack it. And I've had people come into the clinic who've injured themselves doing it. That's not to say it's a bad exercise, it's just the goblet squat is safer for the people I treat. So it's like this. If you watch my lower back, I'm keeping it nice and straight all the way down. And down here, I can feel that nice pressure in the lower back, which is exactly what we want. It's not pain, it's just the lower back bearing the weight of the thing that you're holding. And that is what can trigger that bone density growth. So I would just keep going with that exercise. For bone density, here's a secret. You probably want to do less repetitions with a heavier weight. So I usually recommend people over 50 do somewhere between 10 and 20 reps of each exercise. For the bone density, you might want to decrease that slightly. So you're doing 6 to 10 reps with a heavier weight. Now, that does carry a little bit of extra risk because we're increasing the weight, but the payoff to your bones is massive. Now, you don't have to do this multiple times throughout the day. I would actually recommend just doing the goblet squat a few times per week. 3 times a week works really well. Do it maybe 2 or 3 sets at each time, 3 times a week, and that's absolutely golden. You're going to build stronger muscles and bones just doing that. Now, let's have a look at exercise number 4. The fourth exercise we're going to do today is the hip hinge on the wall. And this is such a vital exercise for people who might be at risk of osteoporosis, because when you've got that condition, bending forward and rounding your spine has been associated with a slightly higher risk of a spinal fracture. So it's important for people with osteopenia or osteoporosis to learn how to hip hinge, which is this movement here. You're bending forward without rounding your spine. So your spine is completely straight. It's your hips that are doing the bending. And this exercise teaches you that movement perfectly. It also helps to strengthen the bones in your back and the hip neck of femur, which is the area that gets really weak over time. So this is how you do the exercise. Dead easy to do. I want you to lean against the wall in your home. So you've got your bottom and your shoulders against the wall and your feet probably about a foot to 18 inches away from the wall like this. All we're going to do first is keep your back really straight. So we've got a nice gap between your lower back and the wall. That means you've got a nice lordosis there ready to go. All we're going to do here, put your hands on your legs and we're going to lean forward without rounding the spine. So we're just sliding our hands down our legs, keeping our back straight, and the bottom should slide up the wall. When you feel you can't go any further because your hamstrings feel tight, come back up to the start. It's as simple as that. So again, we slide the hands down the wall, keep the back straight, feel the bottom slide up the wall. I can only get to my knees before my hamstrings stop me, and then come back. Now, if you're going miles and miles and miles and miles down, what that probably means is you are rounding your spine without realizing it. So try to keep your back as straight as you can. And one thing that can help you with this is to have a mirror over there so you can look to the side and see if your back is still straight. If it's rounded, going down like that, then you know that something's not quite right. Now, with this exercise, it's lovely to help you build up a nice habit. So I would recommend doing 10 of these in a row. Come back to this several times per day. You don't need to do loads in one go. And that just helps you to build a new movement pattern in your mind and gives that regular boost to those bone mass cells, the osteoblasts. So I hope that one has been useful. Let's have a look at exercise number 5 now. The fifth and final exercise we're going to do to boost your bone density is the staggered hip hinge. And this is such a wonderful exercise for people who might be at risk of osteoporosis because it builds, again, that hip hinging pattern where we're not rounding the spine, we're just bending forward like this using the hips. Now, the area that moves is the area where the bone density should be increased. Okay, that's a nice golden rule. And what we're going to do here with the staggered hip hinge, which looks very much like the Romanian deadlift, is instead of just doing it like this, we're actually going to put one foot in front of the other. So you've got staggered feet, and then we're going to do that Romanian deadlift type movement. Now, you can have a slight bend in the knees when you do this. That kind of helps you to get down a little bit further, but the leg that's at the back is the one that's taking most of the weight, which means we're probably about 70 to 30% distributed, which means most of the signal is going into this hip. Now, when you do this for real, it's going to be best if you're holding onto a couple of small weights. Before you do that, just get the movement correct. So do it with no weights whatsoever. But once you feel you've mastered this kind of hinging forward, imagine you're trying to touch your bottom on the wall behind without changing the bend level of your knees. And then you can come back up nice and easily. Once you feel that's working, start to bring some weight into the equation. So bend down and pick up your weights like this. Rest them on the fronts of your legs. Put one foot back or put one foot forward, whichever you prefer. You're going to keep your back straight throughout. That's really, really important. Slight bend in your knees. Start to hinge forward at your hips. Keep your back straight. Slide the weights down your legs like this, just until you get close to the knee, and then come back up. Simple as that. Now, if you're doing this correctly, you should feel a couple of things. Number one, after a few reps, you might feel your lower back feel a bit tired. That's no bad thing. That just means the muscles there are working pretty hard. Number two, you're going to feel your glutes engage, which are the muscles at the back of the hip. And number three, you'll probably feel a stretch in one of your hamstrings more than the other. Again, totally normal. That's exactly what we want, because it's actually the hamstrings that are working hard to put the hip tilt into reverse to bring you back up. Let me show you the other side. So I'm going to put my right foot back, my left one forward, keep the weights resting on the front of my legs, slight bend in the knees, and then stick the bottom out. Slide down the front just until the knees, and then come back up. Squeeze the glutes at the top. It's a really simple movement, and just like the goblet squat, you don't have to do this every day. I'd recommend doing it at maximum 3 times per week. Each time you do it, do 3 sets. You might want to work in sets of somewhere between 6 and 10 reps. That would be lovely. And that will round out a wonderful bone density workout for you. So I hope you found this interesting. If you have, please do drop us a comment below and let us know, because we love to read your thoughts. There's a video on the screen right now which will help you to boost your muscle strength and bone density even further. So click on that if you're interested, and I'll see you again on the next one.